If you've been wondering where Michelle Tanner is for the entirety of Fuller House, then stay tuned. I have a logical explanation for that character's absence. Hey friends and family members, welcome to the Fangirl. I'm McGann and I'm here to cover up plot holes better than the showrunners do. Okay, so Fuller House isn't really groundbreaking or revolutionary, and honestly I had a lot of trouble getting into the story over season 1, but its wholesome charms grew on me. Despite that weird little accent, I'm actually not being sarcastic. I really do like Fuller House. I think shows like this still have a valid place in the market, and all you naysayers can just go shove it. But one issue that has bugged me and pretty much everybody else is that Michelle Tanner is notably absent from the series. And I know it's because neither Mary-Kate or Ashley Olsen will reprise the role as Michelle, but that's not what I'm talking about. Actresses be darned. No, my problem is more that Michelle as a character has no contact with her family. I know you might think that that's impossible if the Olsens won't participate, but there are thousands of ways that a character can have a presence without being physically present. And I know the show's tried to explain this by saying Michelle's running a fashion empire on the other side of the country, and that's not invalid, but you telling me that Michelle can't make a few phone calls and check in every so often? I mean, hey, that would be a great way to start a new season by doing a little recap with Michelle over the phone. Yeah, we won't actually hear or see Michelle, but even if it's just Stephanie or DJ going, listen to all this crazy stuff that happened over the past year, it would still include her in some way. I mean, there was one episode where DJ actually called Michelle and left her a voice message, so we can't have a one-sided phone call just to make it feel like Michelle's around in some way. And even the things that Michelle is doing with her life, like running a fashion empire, not only is that an excuse that the Fullers could be getting free high-end fashion for special occasions, but using a term like empire kind of suggests that Michelle is loaded with cash. Yet you're telling me that she can't even send a baby shower gift or a present when her niece is born? A character doesn't have to be physically there to give a present. So what I really want to know is what happened to Michelle's role in the family? Now, I did skim over a theory saying Michelle's actually dead and here's proof, but I really think that's garbage. Maybe I'm just from a weird family, but my dad has a twin brother and they haven't said more than hey to each other in 40-something years. So in my mind, not speaking to each other doesn't really imply death, it implies some deep-rooted issues. So what could have happened to change Michelle from Little Miss You Got It Dude to someone who doesn't even care about her new niece? Well, I gotta say, I think it really all boils down to her dad, Danny. Previously, I did a video on Danny Tanner and why he's such a neat freak. It's a little bit sad, but it's definitely worth a watch, so check it out if you're interested. Anyways, Danny's need to control things and have perfection via cleanliness was sometimes very hard on the girls in Full House. Danny was never outright abusive, hitting the girls, but his psychological damage was a lot to deal with. And by the end of Full House, we have DJ prepping to go off to college, which she does and becomes a vet, so yay! Look at you, DJ, going and making it happen for all us dreamers out there. However, the series ended before we really got to see how DJ leaving the house affected Danny. Overall, I think he would take it well because kids moving out of the house is just a normal part of life, but I'm also pretty confident that losing his daughter to college would put a lot of extra anxiety on Danny. You know, what's she eating? Where's she going? Is she with the right kind of people? Is her laundry clean? Is her room clean? And since Danny's not great at dealing with his feelings, I would expect that DJ's absence would increase his need to clean and control. But also, without DJ around, it gave Danny a lot more time and energy to focus on his other two daughters. So instead of 3 girls volleying around the muchness of their father, it's only 2. Then, shortly after that 2-daughter dynamic kinda mellowed out and got in a good groove, well, you know, life is never settled. So before you know it, Stephanie's moving out to go to college or travel the world or whatever it is she ended up doing. And I'm sure for Stephanie, that freedom tasted fantastic. But on the inside of the household, for the people left behind, now Dad is twice as anxious about having 2 girls out in the world where he can't control them anymore. And Danny is probably getting some empty nester feelings as Michelle keeps growing up. And that means means Michelle is all alone to get the best and worst sides of her father just all brunt force in her face. And part of the Full House cast did include Uncle Joey and Uncle Jesse and his family, but really, let's consider that Uncle Jesse and his kids and wife, they're all going to move out eventually. And we know from Fuller House that Joey gets married and has 4 children, and you can't do that in a 1-bedroom space in the basement. So Joey's got to move out too. And that would really be a natural progression of the characters, because the only reason the 3 men came together was to raise the girls. They were just there to support Danny after his wife died, so with the girls all grown up, there's no reason for Joey or Jesse and his family to stay with Danny forever. So not only does Michelle get the overbearing dad protection and demand for perfection, but Michelle is also starting to lose the other 2 father figures that she's had for her entire life. So I'm certain that Michelle felt abandoned and was driven nuts by Danny for every day of her teen years. And that means when it was Michelle's time to come of age and leave into the world, she wanted to make sure that she never had to set foot in her father's house again. Michelle became a self-made success in the fashion industry, not because that was her greatest passion, but because she was never going to be forced to rely on her father again. He was too overwhelming, too controlling, too manipulative at times, I'm sure. But if Michelle failed and had to come move back home, well, what does that say? It would say that all of Danny's fears were justified, and it would almost prove that his intensive ways were correct. Oh, Michelle just couldn't make it in the world. She had to come back home, and that's my little darling all back in the nest. Yay! And we know Comet the dog is not gonna live to be in Fuller House, so younger viewers, you can ask your parents what that means. So no, Michelle was so fed up with her father and the fact that everybody left her behind that she moved to the other side of the country and then proceeded to cut off her entire family like she feels they cut her off as a kid. Yes, we know that they have a phone number for Michelle, but if she's rich, she could buy a burner phone just for them to call that she doesn't really check or answer. So let's not assume that just because the Tanners and the Fullers have a number means that they have her real number. But Michelle feels like everybody else moved on in her life and they left her alone with Danny, which was just this squeaky clean, bland life that was so intensive and damaging for Michelle that she moved away and never looked back. And that is a hardcore grudge that has lasted for years, which is why Michelle doesn't even have a hint of a presence in Fuller House. As far as Fuller House goes, the character of Michelle will never send flowers or a birthday card or a Christmas gift or hey, here's a prom dress, or even, hi Stephanie, I heard you had a baby, congratulations, love you sis. Nothing, because Michelle has gotten out of that family and she's not about to come back in just because they all decided to be together. Well, gee, where were you 15 years ago when I needed you? They all left her before and now she's washed her hands of them. It might not be reality, but theories are more fun. I mean, it's not like... But also, without DJ, it only left 2 girls behind to volley back and forth between their dad's muchness. So they can't do a one-sided phone conversation to at least pretend that Michelle hasn't cut off her entire family? So not only does Michelle get all this over-demanding... What's the word? Overbearing dad protection and demand of perfection. So not only does Michelle get the overbearing... So not only does Michelle get the overbearing dad protection, but she also gets the demand. So not only does Michelle get the overbearing dad protection. Michelle became a self-made success in the fashion. It says that all of Danny's fears were justified, and it says that all of That's some hardcore rebellion. Nothing. Well, family members, we're almost done, but I want to invite you to hang out with me in some other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as my own personal self, and I have a Facebook page too, but I mostly just post photos over there. And sometimes people say, hey McGann, I want to mail you something. How do I do that? Easy. Just click the About tab on my channel page, and my most current P.O. Box info will be right there. I also run another channel, The Family. It's really a hodgepodge channel where we might post anything. Oh yeah, and I also sell shirts and stickers and stuff with the Fanily and the Fangirl logos. If that is your cup of tea, I have a link in every description of every video. Finally, if you want to help out the Fangirl channel and make sure I'm putting out video essays for years to come, the best way you can help is by subscribing and watching more of my videos, whether they're new, old, whatever. Maybe even share one or two on social media, help spread the word. People who watch to the end of videos, like you, helps to tell the site, hey, this is a good video, we should recommend it to other people. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment of something like, hey, I made it to the end. Love ya. See you next time, family members. Bye.